What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Steve.
I'm Lindsay.
Today we're going to be reacting to why does the US have so few roundabouts, specifically compared to Europe and the UK. This is something I've been wondering about for quite some time now, because on this journey I've definitely realized that the UK specifically, but I think lots of Europe as well, have a ton of roundabouts compared to the amount of roundabouts we have here in the US.
Weren't they invented there?
I have no idea. It wouldn't surprise me because, Europe in general and the UK are much older than the US. So obviously they had roads much sooner than we did. So I'm guessing they probably did invent roundabouts. But guys, I honestly can only think of a handful of times that I've driven around what I would consider an actual roundabout. Now, I wouldn't consider a small little traffic circle like, you do see those sometime here and there, here in Indiana, back home where I was in North Carolina, where basically, there's a four-way, and instead of stop signs, they'll have this little circle in the middle of the roads. And I mean, so small, basically, you could probably jump across it, really. But very rarely do I see something massive.
Like multi-lane.
Right. Like, look here. Look at this. Road, 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 road.
The only time I've ever experienced that was when I was in Boston.
Yes, I bet if you're going to find roundabouts.
But it wasn't in Boston that I experienced it. It was like on the way to, I think, Rhode Island or something.
The only thing that I can think of as an actual roundabout would probably be considered our courthouse square. That is kind of a roundabout, I guess. But beyond that, I can't think of any other true roundabouts.
Yeah.
And that roundabout is actually only four roads coming in. So it's honestly not that big of a roundabout. I've never drove a roundabout like the size we're looking at here. No, I've never seen anything like that.
Any American who has driven through parts of Europe or other countries may have encountered something that to American sensibilities can seem baffling: the roundabout. The traffic feature that can literally have you driving in circles is...
Well, look at that right there. Look at this.
Wow.
Have you ever seen anything quite like this pattern here?
Not like on an interstate for sure.
I've never seen anything like this. This is so unusual to me.
It's almost entirely missing from the US. And Americans may dread driving through one, fearing they will suffer a fate akin to that of the hapless Clark Griswold.
It's amazing. I cannot get left.
Needless to say, compared to Europe,
the
US is roundabout poor. Between the two, Europe dominates a list.
Cities with the most roundabouts. Wait, Carmel, Indiana?
Wait, no. Are you serious?
That's up north.
Yeah, like I've never been to Carmel, Indiana, but that's really surprising to me that... Are you telling me...
No way.
Carmel, Indiana has the most roundabouts out of... Like, all, this isn't just the U.S. This is all...
That is bizarre.
That is wild.
Oh my gosh, we're going to have to take a road trip and go do them all.
I don't know how far that is away. I've heard of it.
It's on the northern side of Indianapolis. So
wow.
It's a trek.
Okay, guys. So we obviously do have some, but only in one city, it seems like. Are there any other U.S. cities on the list?
Berkeley, California.
Oh, Berkeley, California. Miami, Florida. Okay, so 3 U.S. cities.
25 anyway.
I'm surprised not to see London on here, honestly. I thought London would be on this list.
You would think.
Of the 25 cities with the most.
That is mind-blowing.
That is mind-blowing.
Miami, Florida, Berkeley, California, and believe it or not, Carmel, Indiana.
That is so wild.
We're excited about our roundabouts. I'm told this is number 121.
What?
The mayor of
Wow.
Jim Raynard became enamored of roundabouts while studying in the UK as a young man. He has filled the streets with them.
Is
about
bizarre.
150 and counting.
That's
in a city of 100,000 people.
What?
And
wow.
Request every month, it seems. Can you get rid of this traffic light near my house or near my business?
Gosh.
I couldn't take a roundabout out today if I wanted to. The people here are very proud of what we've done.
That's crazy.
They know that it's
wow.
safer.
Research supports this. Roundabouts are considerably safer for drivers and pedestrians and cause much less congestion than traffic lights. They're even better for the environment. So, are they all they're cracked up to be? And if so, why hasn't the U.S. adopted them?
Well, it sounds like Carmel, Indiana has adopted them.
That just, I don't even, I'm speechless. Like, I
Yeah, that's
never
wild.
would have guessed the most roundabouts in one city would be in Indiana.
Yeah, I would have never guessed that, considering that I never see them.
We've got to go.
Yeah.
We have to make it.
150
I've always wanted
in
to
one
see
city?
Carmel anyway, because it's like one of the top places to live in Indiana.
Is it? Mm-hmm. Maybe it's because of the
highly
roundabouts.
rated.
They got rid of all the stoplights and turned it into roundabouts. That's cool. That's awesome.
This is Jim Brainerd. He's been the mayor of Carmel, Indiana since 1996.
Wow.
When he took office, Carmel had a quarter of its current population, and the roads were laid out on a rural grid. Long stretches of road in between stoplights.
What I heard from the people I talked to when I ran for mayor that first election was they wanted a traditional downtown.
He knew they wouldn't be able to accomplish that with the layout the city had.
We looked at other suburbs around the United States and in North America, and we saw all this congestion. We thought we just have to do better if we're going to have a successful, competitive city.
So he thought of roundabouts.
The single-lane roundabout, or also the mini roundabout, they are the safest type of intersection which you can have.
Modern roundabouts tend to be relatively tight circles and often have one lane, though they can have more. The tighter the circle, the more drivers have to slow down when entering and exiting the roundabout. This is how it works. The first thing to know is in a modern roundabout, traffic already in the circle has the right of way.
Right.
When entering a roundabout, cars should slow down, look to the left, and yield to any cars coming through the circle.
Oh, this drives me nuts. Like, I notice this in our downtown square all the time. Like, I will be coming on to the square or circle, and the people in the square will stop for me. I'm like, no, go. You have the right of way. And they're like, go, like, getting mad at me. I'm like, oh my gosh.
You've got the right of way, dude.
Yeah, like, it drives me nuts.
Yeah, I get you.
There might be signs posted indicating the rules and the speed limit. If the roundabout has 2 or more lanes, drivers will want to get into the appropriate lane for their exit. For example, taking an exit further away might require a driver to get into a left lane. A very near exit might require a driver to keep right. Often, signs will be posted, but you will need to plan accordingly. As a car approaches its exit, the driver should use the turn signal and then make a right turn to then head out of the roundabout.
Left if you're in the UK.
Cars should yield to pedestrians crossing and bicycles within the circle. More importantly, there isn't really an opportunity for the kinds of collisions that occur when a driver...
Wow, that's true. That is so true. I hadn't even thought about it. Look at that. Wow. Because you're not just coming straight on at a regular speed. You've already slowed down to get on the roundabout. And then there's nobody coming right at you from like head on. So you're just looking to the direction of traffic and then going. Like, wow, that's true.
Because there are no red lights to run. The most severe intersection crashes, head-on, right angle, and left turn collisions are unlikely.
In 2021, 24% of all U.S. crash deaths, 10,445 people, occurred in intersections.
Wow.
That same year, an estimated 127,000 people were injured in red light running crashes.
Ooh.
The Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, or IIHS, cites a number of studies done on the safety benefits of roundabouts. Among other things, the findings show that converting traffic signs or traffic signals to roundabouts reduced crashes by up to 62%.
That's amazing.
And injury crashes
Wow.
by up to 87%.
Wow.
Studies focus on single-lane roundabouts, the preferred style for most
That's amazing.
designers, and the one considered the safest.
All right, so I can totally see so far why a lot of people, I haven't had a ton of conversations about roundabouts, but I have had some in the comments of some driving videos, and I can really see why people, specifically in the UK, seem to love their roundabouts. I can see that this probably not only is safer, but obviously safer, but also quicker and just a smoother driving experience.
Yeah, I hate like idling at red lights.
Yes,
so.
I do too. If you could get rid of red lights and turn them into something like this, I think that would be a good thing.
Yeah.
Roundabouts also appear to be safer for pedestrians. You walk on a sidewalk around the perimeter of the road, and if you need to cross, you only need to watch out for traffic coming in one direction at a time. Also, again, cars are driving about 10 to 15 miles per hour. Areas that adopt them have seen drops in traffic congestion.
Wow, man.
Cars don't spend time sitting still at red lights.
Are we
Traffic doesn't
moving to
get backed
Carmel?
up behind a vehicle attempting a left turn. there are no left turns. That vehicles inside the circle have right-of-way also helps prevent backup.
Okay, I do want to say this too. Looking at all these roundabouts now, I think it's also kind of a beautifying thing in a lot of ways.
It's very visually pleasing.
Yeah, having this middle like greenery area.
No, it's not always like that. Like there's plenty of just plain little
a courthouse or something like that. But like a flag or something like that in the middle, that just beautifies the area instead of just like a square.
I hate intersections. I do.
Carmel Mayor Brainerd has seen all of these effects with the roundabouts in his town. The average vehicle fatality rate in the U.S. is 12.9 deaths per 100,000 people, and the rate is slightly higher in neighboring Indianapolis. Carmel, on the other hand, which shares some roads with the larger city and a lot of the same drivers, has a fatality rate of just over 2.
Wow.
That's
people.
amazing.
Accident-related injuries are down 80%. The town has been able to narrow roads, remove lanes. Brainerd says they move traffic 50% faster.
Wow,
Saving a lot of money.
50%?
A single traffic light costs about $400,000.
Does it really?
They draw a lot of electricity, suck a lot of electricity.
Yeah, it's true.
Oh my gosh.
$8,000 to $10,000 a year per light. So if you've got 100,
That's
200
crazy.
lights in your city, do the math.
Wow.
It's a lot of money.
Oh, wow.
I never realized they cost that much money.
Well, it's just the power. But that's amazing. The safety is up there. The cost is down. It's a beautifying thing. Traffic goes faster. This is like a no-brainer, honestly.
After 20 years, you've got to replace that $400,000 light plus inflation.
That's just the light. Then you have to employ people to service the lights, manage the timing on
This is a no-brainer, seriously.
Natural disasters such as severe storms can knock traffic lights out. Then
wow, I never knew any of this.
More lanes to roads as population increases. But if these are so wonderful, why didn't they take off in America? Why isn't every U.S. town like Carmel? A bit of history might help explain. Modern roundabouts are descendants of the traffic circle, which did indeed have a presence in the United States. Columbus Circle in Manhattan is one such traffic circle. In fact, though circular roads had been seen in cities long before cars came around, Columbus Circle is considered the first roundabout of the automobile era.
Okay, so what exactly is the difference between a traffic circle and a roundabout?
Yeah, that's my question.
It was the brainchild of William Phelps Eno, a rather legendary figure in the history of traffic control, also known today for the think tank that bears his name.
We drive on the right side of the road here in the United States, thanks to him and his ideas. He invented the stop sign. He basically invented the sidewalk.
Did he really?
Sidewalk rules,
I never knew that.
So he, laid out those kinds of rules for New York, laid out the code for streets in New York City. One-way streets, taxi stands, all these things we take for granted right now.
The New York Police Department had asked Eno to help solve the problem of chaos and accidents that were happening at Columbus Circle at the time, around the turn of the 20th century.
Just after 1900, Columbus Circle was notorious for lots of accidents. You didn't have any regulations. People were going both directions around the circle.
Eno proposed that traffic around the circle move in a single direction, rather than two. It was that simple proposal and the design that resulted from it that reduced accidents to a surprising extent.
It improved.
Isn't it crazy that had to be proposed at some point?
I mean, if you're used to doing things a certain way and you just never think about it. But yeah, it's like, duh.
We experienced some of that kind of scattered driving in Southeast Asia.
Oh, God.
Like people, there's no rhyme or reason.
There's a method to their madness to them, but if you're not used
but if you don't know it, you're just like, people were going this way and that way.
I got so much anxiety trying to cross the street there. It was just horrible.
Yeah.
By the way, I love his plants.
I know you do.
Part of Manhattan, and it soon became adopted in Paris around the Arc de Triomphe. Piccadilly Circus in London and a couple
Wait,
of places.
Wait, no way.
It was invented in the U.S.?
Like that. And they made a lot of jokes about this. And also the word roundabout is just a joke. It's people were talking about it. It's a terrible thing. They go just round about this island. And that is the reason of this word in English.
Despite the mockery, the concept
See that bus?
stuck. and was refined into the modern roundabout in the UK around 1960.
What?
It was the British and
Okay.
other European designers who improved on the design by...
Okay, I'm shocked.
I am too. I would have bet money that they were invented somewhere in Europe.
Yeah, because
whether the UK or elsewhere.
Right, like, because we have so few here, like, other than, I guess, a few cities, that you would assume that the birthplace of something like this would have been where you would have most of these roundabouts.
That's crazy. Okay.
That is crazy. Wow. And so it sounds like before the 1960s, the UK really didn't have any or many.
What they said, the 1960s?
It said 1960s, yeah.
No.
That's what it said, yeah. Wow.
What?
But it did say their designers improved upon them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
By making the circle in the center smaller, reducing the lanes, and ensuring vehicles already in the circle have the right of way over those entering.
You're bringing the car to slowing it down so that it's not just speeding down through these intersections. It's a very subtle change, but actually made a big impact.
Transportation researcher Lee Rodegertz says estimates of roundabouts in the top European countries are about 30 to 50,000 in France, about 30,000 in Spain, and 25,000 in the United Kingdom.
What?
This isn't perfect, but let me put that all in perspective. The US has about 290 million cars.
A lot,
France,
yeah.
about 39 million. Let's say there are about 40,000 roundabouts in France. If the US had as many roundabouts per vehicle as France does, we should have something in the area of 300,000. We currently have 10,000.
What?
Okay.
The comparison has
What?
The US has large swaths of sparsely
That
populated
is
land
crazy.
and longer distances between areas.
Very true.
Yeah.
Hold on, guys. I got to look at that real quick. 25,000 in the UK. You got 30,000. Wow. Okay. And we have 10,000 with a lot more cars. Mm-hmm. Okay. So that just goes to show why we don't see roundabouts very often. Why we don't have any experience with
more
them.
rural areas.
A lot of other countries adopted it very robustly, but we didn't really do that here for a number of years.
So why not the US? There were a few main reasons. One, Eno's initial traffic circle concept was adopted by other designers in ways that were ever more complicated. A lot of these were often called rotaries.
Rotaries.
You would change lanes in them. They had other kind of traffic islands in them sometimes.
Wow.
And they really didn't prove to be much safer than the way that the roads were configured before. And so they actually wound up falling out of favor in the United States. They didn't really have much of a utility because we kind of over-engineered and over-designed these.
Of course, there were large traffic circles in places across Europe, but inefficient designs were mostly abandoned, and there was a kind of modern homegrown alternative that was ready to replace them. Meanwhile, the traffic signal became the traffic control method of choice at intersections in America, thanks in part to aggressive salespeople.
They would go to these communities and provide lots of free advice for how to improve safety and traffic congestion in these intersections. And hey, by the way, we have these signals that we can sell you. As we were electrifying lots of the country, all this kind of went hand in hand, and it became, it probably became a rational, modern approach to improving these intersections.
Oh man, that was the wrong trajectory. Now that I'm learning about this, that was obviously the wrong direction. But it sounds like a big part of it was because the salespeople were really good at selling their traffic signals.
And whoever you call them, engineers, I guess, that were developing the traffic circles here were overcomplicating it and making it way more of a headache.
Right.
As opposed to this old model from the turn of the century.
Finally, as traffic control became a standardized discipline in the US, people in the profession looked to the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, which is the blueprint traffic engineers use to design roads.
It lays out, I guess you would say, simpler, more straightforward intersections, again, that are signalized, as opposed to roundabouts, which may take up a little bit more space, especially in an urban environment. It may eat up more of the landscape than a signalized intersection. It may take a little bit longer to pull together.
The first modern roundabouts in the United States were constructed in Nevada in 1990.
Wow.
3 decades after the modern roundabout.
That's insane.
Americans are often resistant to the idea of introducing a roundabout in their communities.
A lot of
Why?
inertia, right? Traffic engineering and inertia go hand in hand, and did for a number of years. And it's only now that we're starting to see where some of those problems are. Actually starting to see some of the challenges with some of the ideas that Mr. Ito pulled together.
When Jim Brainerd took the helm of Carmel, Indiana in late 1996, roundabouts were nowhere in the city or on the minds of people he consulted.
Wow.
Everyone suggested adding more lanes.
I didn't have a background in civil engineering, knew nothing about civil engineering, so I kept asking questions. And many times the answers I got were, I don't know why we do it that way, that's just the way we were taught. And they just didn't think about it. And so we had some really good engineers and said, okay, let's rethink this.
Since then, Carmel has replaced all but a handful of its traffic lights and plans to finish off the rest of the conversions within years.
Are you kidding me?
That is pretty great. So they're not going to have any
This town's not going to have stoplights? Wow.
That's a good selling point.
That is a good set. I hate stoplights.
I do too.
Man, I just want to go safely.
Yeah.
But wow. Okay. This mayor must be really good because he's been in office for pushing 30 years. Wow. Like that says something if a mayor stays in office for that long.
Seems innovative, so.
Yeah, seems on point.
Roundabouts have been catching on in the rest of the U.S. The country has been adding around 500 to 700 of them per
Where are they
year
at?
for the past 15 years
Cities,
or so.
probably.
Yeah.
States such as New York and Virginia have adopted roundabout-first policies that require giving preference to roundabouts when building or repairing
That's
intersections.
pretty cool.
Researcher Wang
Had no idea.
lives in Northern Virginia.
Yeah, I can tell from my experience in this area where I'm living. I just started to see more and more roundabouts being built.
The states with the most roundabouts: Florida, California, and Colorado.
I wouldn't have guessed Indiana's number 4.
I wouldn't have guessed North Carolina's number 7.
Yeah.
I'm guessing probably North Carolina's like Charlotte area, maybe some of Raleigh, places we didn't really spend much time.
Yeah.
That's wild. All right. But still, obviously looking at the amount per capita, so to speak, in the United States, it just goes to show you guys in the UK and in Europe in general are much more likely to see roundabouts than we are.
This makes me want to go on a road trip.
Yes, me too.
Several surveys in some U.S. communities where several roundabouts were built, and we found that yes, at the beginning the percentage of the drivers who would favor the idea of roundabouts was relatively low, but once the drivers get the chance of driving around the roundabouts and then get more experience driving around the roundabouts, they're more acceptable.
Yeah, it looks intimidating. So
at first, the big ones especially.
There are a few potential drawbacks depending on the needs and the designs. The Guardian in 2015 reported that some cities in the UK are removing roundabouts in favor of traffic lights. They said the roundabouts were actually worse for bicyclists. It
I could
seems to
see
depend on
that.
how the roundabout is designed and whether it has a protected lane for bicyclists.
Yeah.
A
would be
review
kinda
of
dangerous
49
for
studies found that roundabouts can actually dramatically increase bicycle crashes unless there is a protected bike lane. Researchers
Something to keep in mind
found that single-lane
when they build
roundabouts
these.
without a protected bike lane increased crashes by 93%.
Wow.
Danish researchers said roundabouts that did have separated lanes saw
Yeah,
an
with and without.
84% reduction in crashes.
So that sounds like that's the issue.
Increase in
Build those
crashes
lanes.
involving bicyclists has not happened in Carmel. It is also observed that single-lane roundabouts have a harder time accommodating a throughput of more than 25,000 cars per day.
We have one solution which has partly two lanes on the circle. We call it turbo roundabout.
Oh my goodness.
Turbo roundabout.
And some of them are also being used in Germany.
Okay, that looks
And
scary.
they come up to
Okay, 31,000 to 35,000 cars a day. That looks insane.
It looks very intimidating.
Yeah.
Turbo roundabout is just the name.
I mean, you got this multi-lane roundabout with these sections, and then this is going over it. Well, I don't think that's actually part of the roundabout.
No.
That's going over it. Wow.
By the way, I just want to say the road looks very nice there.
Yeah, that does look like a very nice road. It's probably new.
Yeah.
It does look nice.
capacity of 30.
Look how they got overpass coming all the way over it.
Still not much. If you have more traffic, then in Germany you need a signalized intersection.
Werner Brilon designed one such multi-lane roundabout in the German city of Baden-Baden, and there are also some in the Netherlands.
But this type is only useful under specific conditions. If you have one predominating movement, then it is useful. If traffic is distributed over all the entrances and exits rather equally, then it doesn't work.
The risk is that the more lanes or other elements there are, the more confusing it can be for drivers, at least at first.
Yeah, at first.
Over the long term, over a few years after the roundabouts were built, we see increasing safety benefits at these double-lane roundabouts. We think probably because
probably one of those things take time.
As the drivers gain more experience navigating these roundabouts, they know how it works, they know how to drive through it, and then we should expect larger safety benefits at these roundabouts.
Carmel even has a roundabout on the Keystone Parkway, a high-traffic highway. And the city has no intention
Look at
of
that.
going back to
That's like a
stoplights.
figure 8.
Yeah.
We had to build a city that was beautiful and worked really well if we were going to compete. And we have been able to compete. We have 150 corporate headquarters in Carmel. We have been rated over and over by various organizations one of the best places.
They're always on
States, one of the
top
best
list.
places to retire, one of the best places to raise families, one of the best places for single people. And so it's because we set out to build a city that worked, and the transportation network is one of those basic things that a city has to do right for it to work.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I feel like I learned a lot in this
I learned a
video.
ton in this.
I was not looking forward to it, to be honest.
I was.
I thought it was going to be pretty boring.
No, I love the
Now
transportation
I'm really
stuff.
excited about it, and I want to go
Check it out.
travel and see something.
Go to the city in Indiana that doesn't have stoplights.
Yeah, well, maybe at this point. I don't know how old this video is.
I think it's a year or two. I don't know. But this was incredible. It was very eye-opening to me for many reasons. Number one, the safety of a roundabout
seeing the
compared to just intersections. It just seems like this is a no-brainer. Mm-hmm. It really is a no-brainer. If I understand that, a town has limited funds, so they can't just be all of a sudden say, hey, this is better, so let's just go and build roundabouts everywhere. Yeah. But if you are repairing a road, this is something that makes a lot of sense to, instead of putting in new stoplights when you're building a new road.
Switch it over. Yeah.
As improvements happen, build roundabouts. This is amazing.
Yeah.
And the cost, it saves money over time, but I will say you probably see a slight increase in the amount
crashes and stuff
to begin with, because people aren't used to them.
Yeah.
I mean, around here, a lot of people, including me, I wouldn't be used to driving this. You would just have to be very cautious going into it at first, as you're not used to it. But I mean, some things like this it's pretty self-explanatory. It's not that difficult. But the big ones are the ones I'm talking about. But the other thing is the fact that two things: the U.S. has so few roundabouts compared to the UK and other places in Europe. But here in Indiana, we have the actual #1 city for roundabouts in the world.
Yeah,
Who would have guessed that? Literally, I would have never guessed that because I don't have any experience with roundabouts. I would have never assumed that we literally have a city here in Indiana that has the most.
Also, we're #4 in all the states.
Yeah, I would have never guessed that.
Also, as long as I heard correctly, I think what we heard was that the roundabout was invented in the U.S.
Yeah.
Which
that's another one. What? That doesn't even make sense to me.
It doesn't to me either.
Wow.
But very cool. And
very, very
I'm
cool.
excited to not drive on one, but see them in the UK as well.
I don't know. Maybe we'll go to Carmel and get some practice.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's just go get a bunch of practice on roundabouts before we go over.
But it would be totally different because
you're going
opposite.
Well, maybe we should go up there and drive with the left.
Oh my gosh.
This was fun though, guys. I love the transportation topic. I love everything about driving. I don't know what it is about it. I just love the driving topic. I love everything about it. So if you have any suggestions to share with me about something that we should check out next in terms of driving, please feel free to leave it in the comments. Anyways, guys, enough rambling from us. Thank you so much for stopping by. Please click that like button. Feel free to drop your comments or suggestions about this video or others. And don't forget to subscribe to continue to follow us on our journey to discover anything and everything about the UK and Ireland. Until next time, guys, peace.
Bye.